Welcome to Let's Play Gran Turismo 3, episode 66. Alright, so let's finish the Amateur League, as of which it is also our first international A-license event in this game now. And of course, there is only one car I really want to use for the, excuse me, for the, Dream Car Championship, or at least the Amateur Dream Car Championship, and well, that's going to be this. I want to use the Chevrolet Corvette, so that's exactly what I'm going to use, and then the real tuning I need to do is just get myself a set of hard tyres, because I would imagine tyre wear probably will be an issue, and I think that's all I need to do. So let's head back to the Amateur League and head over to this, the Amateur Dream Car Championship. So it is a 7-race championship, and also 25 grand if we can win each of these races, and circuits we are going to include Deep Forest, Laguna Seca, Route 5, Apricot Hill, Test Course, Route 11 and Grand Valley Reverse. So let's get going with the final Amateur League event in this game, as of which I believe once we have completed the Amateur League we will have also completed the we will have also received the second ending movie. Well, speed's not a problem. I've got on the hard tyres, and I would imagine pit stops probably will be the order of the championship, so let's do this. Let's go to race 1 of the Amateur Dream Car Championship. My Chevrolet Corvette C5R. Because nobody has actually tried using the Corvette for this event, and so I ultimately decided I would officially be the first to use it, because I wanted to. And already I am getting used to start this off. But I'm pretty confident in saying at the very least I can probably win 5 out of 7 races. As of which obviously this is a 7-race championship, and already I am up into the 2nd position. And already making some contact with the FTO. The S2000 makes some contact with me, and I put on the hard tyres because I have a feeling tyre wear probably will be an issue heading into this, and it's already looking like that's precisely what the case is going to be. Already noticing some wear on the right side tyres, and officially I am now taking the lead here at Deep Forest. And I now complete lap 1 to officially solidifying the lead of this race. And I think if I'm lucky this will probably take me about less than 1.5 hours, just if I manage to do everything properly and not fuck this up too badly, then maybe I might be able to win potentially 6 out of 7 races at the most, maybe even 7 dependent on how quick I am at test course. And already I now have a 3.7 second interval to the Altezza. My Corvette is leading this race at a vast rate of knots, and is officially continuing put itself in the position of eventually winning this race. Because I'm pretty certain for most of these races I will probably have an advantage in terms of acceleration. Considering obviously these cars more or less have about 600 horsepower, so I would say I'm just about equal with these AI in the first race. Don't really think I can see anything wrong with this tactic, as of which I am now 6.6 seconds clear of the Toyota Altezza, who is currently fighting for the second position with what I think is the FTO, and they're both into the pits. Sorry, the Altezza and the S2000 are both into the pits. So pit stops definitely being the order of the day, because even though the rear-wheel drive cars are fast, apparent as they might be, they are also very hard on their tyres. Apparent as they might be. Which is why I purchased the racing hard tyres, because I figured that would be an issue. And as of which, pit stops once again handing me the race win, because I'm now 16 seconds clear of the Tommy Kyra. I think at the back of that group, in fourth position at the moment, I think is meant to be the Impreza, as of which I'm pretty certain will probably be the slowest car in the field by some margin, and I just fucked up the entry to the final lap because I went wide. And, oh shit, okay, I got way too much oversteer there. Fortunately, however, I did manage to get it back, and officially I still hold on to the lead. Oversteer very much taking over the steering control at the moment. And obviously, this is also a pretty bumpy track surface. And, oh fuck. It's alright, it's fine. I have got everything under control now. I have not hit the rocks on the outside, and ultimately it looks as though I probably will be on my way to pretty much decimating the field as I hit the outside wall. And it is going to be victory in race number 1. So, let's now wait for the rest of these AI to finish, as which I would imagine it will not take them too long. But yeah, let's wait for them. See how far behind they are, behind the Corvettes. And 19.5 seconds. So the FTO was third, then it was the Impreza, the Altezza is going to finish in fifth, and then at the back it is the Honda S2000. At the end of race 1. So these are the points, as of which an easy 10 points to me as a result of winning race 1. Tommy Kyra is second, followed by the Mitsubishi, then it is the Subaru, ahead of the Toyota, and then it's the Honda at the back of the field for race 1. And as I expected, I won race 1 with relative ease. There really wasn't any competition once I took the lead, and I'm pretty certain that's probably how most of these races are going to look. So 25 grand for winning race 1, and now we can move onwards to race number 2. Let's see how dominant we are. as of which I'm not going to waste any of your time. I'm just going to get on with the races and just basically get through this championship as quickly as I can, and probably should have shifted up into second gear, but obviously deciding in the end not to. And already I'm quickly catching up to these AI, even though my starts may not be great. Once we officially get through to the corners, I can definitely see where exactly my car is mostly beneficial, as of which the FTO is right there, and at the moment I can safely say I am of course managing to see myself as a competitor for this race by the time I take the lead. So the Toyota Altezza leads the Honda S2000 here at Laguna Seca, and I'm pretty certain I will manage to take the lead pretty soon. Once we get into the stint, and making some contacts there with the inside wall, and currently 3 seconds back on the leaders, but again, it won't be long before I catch him, because I'm pretty certain their tyres will quickly be left to waste. Meanwhile, I will of course be able to catch up to them once that happens. As of which I've already managed to find a second through the first sector on the second lap, and at the moment I am doing very well indeed, just gradually closing up to these AI. Gap is currently 2 seconds, but I'm pretty certain that interval will shrink with time to spare, and obviously moment I can pretty much clarify it's probably safe to say that once I do manage to take the lead, it will not be long before the domination begins. And oh fuck me, I got way too much oversteer there on the exit, which was the only reason why I was not able to come up with a counter-attack, because I was oversteering. And I really need to learn not to be greedy with the throttle. And the S2000 trying to take the position away from me, even though I am even though I am blocking quite hard at the moment. He appears to have stronger acceleration than I do, but again, I do of course manage to head up into the second position without causing too much damage, and as we now head through the corkscrew section once again. And the gap has now shrunk down to under 0.3 of a second, and I hit the back of the Altezza. Go me for being a dumbass, anyways. Here I am once again, and officially I am now gradually closing in on the Toyota Altezza. He leaves the door open, I slot myself in through the corner. He gets a stronger exit than I do, but he has to slam on the brakes for the corner, as both he and the Honda S2000 run very wide there through turn 3, right after the Firestone tyre bridge, and officially that now allows me to take the lead once again in the Corvette. So I'm going to assume their tyres must have fallen off up to this point, and already it's pretty much safe to assume that if their tyres really are worn, and I'm suspecting they must be, then obviously this is probably going to be the lap they'll pit. And officially it is precisely what will allow me to once again take the lead in the Corvette, as I now start the 5th and final lap, and I also set a new best lap time, or a new PB, personal best. So 17.4 seconds is pretty much the interval now to the Tommy Kyra, who does now take the 2nd position, away of course from the Toyota Altezza. And it looks as though both of those guys have rejoined at the back of the pack as a result of making those pit stops, and got a little bit airborne there on the right hand side before the corkscrew. Was able to catch it though, as I was pretty much in the middle of the corkscrew. Fortunately, no disasters were made as I was in the middle of the corner. I did manage to successfully catch it as we now head through the final corner, and officially it's going to be 2 out of 2 to the Chevrolet Corvette, because I chose the racing slick tyres. And finishing order in this race, pretty much the same as the previous race, more or less. So 20.5 seconds in the end over the Tommy Kyra, and pretty much the exact same finishing order that we had at Deep Forest. I more or less decimated the opposition because of tyre longevity, and officially I can pretty much guarantee I will probably win this championship on aggregate before the finale. So everyone is pretty much looking even Stevens at the moment. I'm pretty sure that will probably change before the end of this championship, and dependent on knowing if I'll actually win at test course or not, that remains to be seen. Meanwhile, 2 races are down and we still have 5 to go. And I am going very well, I might add. Alright, so, race 3 at Route 5, and could this championship be a potential clean sweep? I wouldn't have thought so until we get to test course. And then, if we do manage to get to test course, that's probably when there will be a deciding point on knowing if this will be a clean sweep or not. As of which I do make contact there with the Tommy Kyra as we head through the bus stop section. And making a little contact there with the inside wall, and diving down the inside of the FTO. Still hitting the invisible walls on the inside. And officially 2 seconds at the moment behind the Altezza, as of which obviously I would think with this being a longer course than Deep Forest and Laguna Seca, I'm pretty certain that both the Toyota and the Honda probably will have a stronger shot of maybe finishing higher than they have been doing so far in this championship. And I hit the back of the Honda. Still continuing to make contacts there with the Honda, although it doesn't matter too much because I managed to put myself back into the position of second, and I am now less than a second behind the Toyota, and I would imagine it is only a matter of time before the Corvette does manage to successfully take the lead away from the Toyota. And try my best to not make too much contact there with the Toyota. I am now in the slipstream of the Altezza and slotting down the inside as we head down the front stretch. Up into the lead I go. He is trying to come back at me, as of which I do hit the inside wall. And the S2000 now takes the lead away from the Toyota as a result of this colliding in the tunnel. And it seems of course to be pretty much collisions galore at the moment. We're at Route 5. And I slot down the inside to retake the advantage, and having of course to be pretty deep there through the hairpin, as of which I am now into the lead once again, and this could be where the extension streak, this could be very well where my extension continues. So basically, in the past I used the Chevy Corvette C5R as my car for the Dream Car Championship, even though obviously I was never able to show it because I never actually thought about doing it and then uploading it to the internet. Anyways, the FTO has now taken the second position in this race, and as of which I would imagine both the S2000 and the Toyota will very much catch up to the rest of the field, as of which it is, namely Japanese manufacturers in this championship. And gap at the moment is 14.3 seconds, and I would imagine once we do manage to complete the final lap here at Route 5, I would say it is going to be a possible win for me. Possible hat-trick of wins to the Corvette. So yeah, basically, until now, and I spoke too soon because the Tamikaira just took the second position away from the FTO. Anyways, so in terms of origination, I did of course use this car for the Dream Car Championship, even though obviously I never actually thought about using this car and displaying it on the internet until now. Because even though this was something I did of course try before, I figured I would probably win 6 out of 7 races because I had more durable tyres, and I am predicting this of course will more or less be another one of those instances where I prove that, and the FTO has now taken second place back from the Tommy Kyra, as of which they are locking horns at the moment over who is going to be the second place finisher, Meanwhile for me, it is going to be W number 3. And I narrowly set a new PB process. So let's now wait for everybody else to finish, considering I would imagine they are heading up to the line now, and I'm going to take another sip of water. Alright, so winning margin in the end of that, pretty much 25.4 seconds over the FTO. The Tommy Kyra this time was third ahead of the Impreza. The S2000 manages to also finish ahead of the Toyota for the first time. Meanwhile the Mitsubishi overtakes the Tommy Kyra. Sorry, finishes ahead of the Tommy Kyra for the first time, so no perfect streaks at the moment except for myself and the Subaru, because I finished first in every race and the Subaru has finished fourth in every race so far. The FTO, I would anticipate, will probably be closing in for second, but meanwhile for the rest of these AI, I would imagine positions will probably be changed pretty soon, methinks. Anyways, race 4, and where this time we are now going to Apricot Hill. Let's quickly get this over with so we can get on with the shitty oval. Just trying to move cord that is blocking my TV, or at least in terms of kilometres it is blocking my TV, but not in terms of the overall view, however, as of which I already slot ahead of the Subaru Impreza, and I'm already up into the 4th position and slotting my way through the field pretty easily at the moment. The FTO runs wide. I'm trying to keep it as clean as I can, as of which I managed to do so successfully, and I moved the Altazza. Oh crap! Okay. And as I suspected, acceleration is favouring speed at the moment, as I'm just waiting for these tyres to warm up at the present time. And even though both the Altazza and the Honda are leading this race at the moment, I am pretty certain there will not be any consistency streaks by the time we get to the end of this championship, even though if I do manage to win all 7 races, that will of course surprise me, because test course is one of those 7 races that we have to go to, and already we are now well clear of the rest of the pack. So the Honda is trying to locate his position for taking second, meanwhile the Altazza at the moment is holding on to second position. And had to hold my nose there because I thought for sure I was going to sneeze. which is the reason why I was just on the brakes and not turning. And officially, I can now say I am closing in on the 2 leaders. I am definitely within the slipstream of the S2K, and it is not going to be too much longer before I do manage to take the lead. Because even though my car may not have the acceleration, it definitely has the mileage to go the distance, and obviously in the long run where pit stops are more or less inevitable in events like these, this is exactly the sort of pragmatic approach I need to take towards these races. And as a result of tyre wear, I do not manage to take the lead. Officially, this is probably going to be where tyres become the decider of this race, and as I predicted, the tyres clearly not proving, of course, to be durable enough for the likes of the Toyota or the Honda, as of which obviously that does now allow, of course, the Atomic Ira to officially take second position once again, as of which, for me and my Corvette, it has effectively put us over to the 4th win on the trot, as of which we now have pretty much quadruple W's to our name by the time we get to the end of the 5th lap, because I am way the fuck ahead of everyone else, basically. It is nearly 10 PM. Considering I am recording this on a Friday night, and officially what I can say about this as well, I'm basically just dominating this. And of course I am going to do this entire championship in one segment because, well, there are only 7 races we have to do. Anyways, final lap, and looks as though it is going to be four out of 4 wins to the Chevrolet Corvette. Pretty much flawless wins by the time I take the lead during these races, which is basically what has been happening. And obviously the Subaru, I would imagine, will probably not hold off the Altezza or the S2000 by the time we get to the end of this race. And this car is still trying to make me spin, but fortunately, however, that is not turning out to be the case at the moment. I'm managing to keep the Corvette very much under control at the present time, and officially this is officially going to be 4 out of 4 wins to the Americans over the Japanese. So 4 wins to Chevrolet and 0 wins to the AI. And the S2000 does manage to pass the Altezza once again, as of which they now both manage to pass the FTO as well. The Atomic Ira finishes second, then it's the Honda third, followed by the Mitsubishi. The Toyota Altezza was 5th, and then at the back, by just about 25 seconds, it was the Impreza. So, fresh rubber definitely benefiting the Honda over the Toyota. And this is probably where the S2K manages to take 5th position away from the Altezza. And indeed he does. So I have an 18-point advantage over the Tommy Kyra after 4 rounds. The Mitsubishi is still holding on to 3rd, the Impreza is still 4th. The S2K now moves up to 5th by a single point, and at the back, now with 7 points, is the Altezza. So 4 races down and still 3 to go. And then once we've done those 3 races, we will have completed the Amateur League. As of which it is now time for Test Course. So, not going to mess about, I'm just going to get this over with. And also, have a sip of water in the process, because it's just long straights. But yeah, let's do this. Alright, so here we go for the shitty oval once again, and where I'm pretty certain I will probably have a straight line speed deficit in comparison to these AI, even though at the moment I am managing to close in on these AI. So speed is managing to build up at the present time. Pretty much going at about probably 188, 189 miles an hour through these bankings, which I would say is more or less what the speed in miles is meant to be. And where at the moment it doesn't look like I'm going to catch up to the leaders, but again, I am very well going to catch up to the Subaru, because obviously if there was going to be any course I would be weak at, it would have to be Test Course, and already speed is definitely proving, of course, to be an issue, even though I am getting a draft from the Impreza, so that happens only very briefly, as of which I do manage to overtake the Impreza now for the 5th position, and well, I would imagine for probably 5 laps of dullness, 5th position is probably going to be the best I can hope for. Unless the AI pits, even though that's probably not likely because, well, the track surface at Test Course is not as abrasive as it is on other track surfaces, so I'm pretty certain 5th position will probably be the best I can hope for in this race, unless I manage to close in, but at the moment it does not look like that's going to be the case, because, well, the top 4 are basically fighting for the lead, and I think 5th position is probably the best I can hope for. As of which I knew if there was going to be any course I would not win on, it would have to be Test Course. But again, it really doesn't matter too much, because I had an 18-point advantage going into this race, so even if I do manage to not become a contender in this race, I will still have more or less a 10-point advantage over the Tommy Kyra, who I think is running in the 3rd position at the moment, even though 5th position to me is pretty much the best I can hope for realistically. And this I knew very well was probably going to be the only race I would not win, considering the AI usually do have faster cars than I do, and pit stops are probably going to be unlikely here at Test Course, because tyre durability on this track surface is actually really good, and Any chances I have of winning up to this point have probably been washed away, if I can put it that way. Although I did have a feeling this was going to happen. Anyways, so the AI are basically battling for the lead amongst themselves at the moment. I'm pretty certain there is probably no chance of me winning the race up to this point, because the AI appear of course to be stronger than I do, and it's probably best if up to this point I concede the position, because I know very well that obviously I've won all 4 races up to this point, even though obviously it is not going to be 5 races. Unless the AI clash with one another or pretty much spread out single file. I don't think there is going to be an opportunity for me to win this race the way it stands at the moment. Even though it does look as though these AI are starting to become strung out, at least the car at the back of the leading pack is looking like he's beginning to become strung out from the rest of the field. Even though, to me at least, the best position I can really hope for is basically 5th. Unless I can manage to catch up to the Toyota Altezza, which seems unlikely, but, you know. There could be a possible glimmer of hope of me maybe taking 4th position, but again, I highly doubt it, because I don't think I'm going to be able to see myself becoming engaged in the fight itself. Although it looks as though the Altezza has now been pretty much left out to dry, so this could very well be the only other overtake that I make throughout the rest of this race, as of which the Altezza has basically been left out to dry, out of the draft from the rest of these AI, and officially it looks as though 4th position will officially be the best position I can hope for, basically. Although it doesn't matter, because the Altezza still strikes back anyway, and something tells me this could help us catch up to the rest of the pack, even though I'm pretty certain the power of the draft will probably not be enough to catch up to the leaders. As of which the Altezza at the moment is clearly proving to be faster than me, as of which I am trying to get a bump draft, but unfortunately, however, that's not proving to be the case. Slipstreaming is pretty powerful in this game, but again, I'm pretty certain the draft will probably not help us catch up to the leaders. And the Altezza is going to manage to slot ahead of me once again, but again, I managed to retake the position. This is probably going to be the best position I can truly hope for, even though obviously he has a quicker accelerating car than I do, and I'm pretty certain this will probably be where positions are decided, and it doesn't matter because both the Altezza and the Honda S2000 are in the pits, and officially that is going to move me up to the 3rd position, even though I'm pretty certain I will definitely not catch up to the leaders, because the gap is now 2.4 seconds, and I'm pretty certain that if both the S2000 and the Altezza can draft off of one another, then they might be able to catch up to the Scooby, who I'm pretty certain has probably hit that rev limiter probably countless times by now, but it looks as though since the pit stops were made anyway, It appears as though 3rd position is basically going to be the best position I can hope for up to this point. Excuse me. So heading through the tunnel now once again on the back stretch. It is more or less fair to say I am definitely not going to win this race. But again, 3rd position is still more than good enough for me because I did not think there was going to be the anticipation of a pit stop up to this point in the race. And officially, it appears as though 3rd position is going to be the best position I'm going to get for this race. By default of both the Honda S2000 and the Toyota Altezza pitting, the Tommy Kaira is still battling with the FTO for the lead. Looks as though the Mitsubishi might just get the win over the Tommy Kaira. Meanwhile for me, it is going to be an overachieving 3rd position at test course. I will definitely take that. 3rd position in the race. A position I will definitely take. Let's now wait for everybody else to finish. So the FTO narrowly fends off from the Tommy Kaira. I finished 3rd, only 3 seconds behind the Mitsubishi at the end. The Impreza finishes 4th, then it is the S2000 in 5th once again, and at the back is once again the Toyota Altezza. So 3rd position, more or less the best I could have hoped for, considering obviously acceleration was not playing a part in that race. But again, 3rd position, 4 points, I'll definitely take that. So, it is only 1 point between the Tommy Kaira and the Mitsubishi now. They are both well ahead of everyone else. And meanwhile, I now have a 16-point advantage over the Tommy Kaira after 5 out of 7 rounds. So 7,500 for 3rd place. More or less the best I could have hoped for here at test course. And officially, let's now move on to the penultimate race in the championship, which takes place at Route 11. Just taking a sip of water. Anyways, penultimate race of the Dream Car Championship, and we're officially I would imagine I am probably going to win 6 out of 7 races once I manage to get myself involved in fighting for the lead, hopefully. Oh shit, okay. It's alright, it's fine. I think I've got this thing under control, even though I probably haven't. Going through these 2 hairpins in 3rd gear so I don't get a snap of oversteer. Fortunately managing to successfully survive both corners, as I am now up into the 4th position and trying to look for an opening on the FTO. Still running in 3rd gear so I don't get a snap of oversteer. Tyre wear just starting to kick in on the fronts. And slotting down the outside of the FTO through the hairpin, who also gets into the wall. Suspecting he must have had a snap of oversteer as well. And I am now slowly closing in on the leaders at the end of the lap. Yeah, so basically the main reason why I decided to use the Corvette for this championship as well, because I was the only one who thought about using this car for for the Dream Car Championship, and oddly enough nobody else had officially thought about it under the circumstances. And of course it will not matter how far the S2000 or the Altazza get away from me in the early parts of this race, because they will still have to pit in for tyres regardless. They've done it every race so far, and they could very well do it again. Right before the end of this championship, methinks, and officially at the moment I'm doing very well. So anyways, referring back of course to the subject I mentioned about why exactly I chose the Corvette. Well, officially that was simply because officially when I was younger I was basically the only one who thought about using the Corvette C5R for this championship, and nobody else seemed to think of that idea, so basically I probably will be the first to think of this idea, and ultimately overall I am pretty certain that overall, for probably the first time in a long time, I will probably be the first and only person to officially think about using this. Meanwhile, the gap at the end of the second lap is currently 4 seconds, so the Honda is currently pulling away from both myself and the Altazza, but I'm pretty certain by the time those two pit, that's officially when I will of course manage to put myself in the position of eventually taking the lead, because those two have literally got to pit, and then once they do, that's officially when I will strike out and take the lead here at Route 11 like I have been doing for 4 out of the past 5 races, because obviously test course was shit, and also because test course is basically just a shitty oval where you're basically turning left 4 times. Anyways, for this race, because there are a lot more corners, I would say there is definitely the certainty of me taking the lead once both of these guys pit, and I do manage to slot myself into the second position as we head through the hairpin, getting a snap of oversteer on the exit for good measure, so tyre wear definitely kicking in for both of these guys as I anticipated it would, and because of how calculative I was from previous experience, they both come into the pits now. Alright, so both of them are now in the pits, and that officially allows me to take the lead and also set a new PB by dead on 0.6 of a second, and they are both coming out of the pits. Obviously, excuse me, obviously Route 11 being a long circuit, I'm pretty certain both the S2000 and the Altazza will manage to slice their way through the field on fresh tyres, because obviously this track is much longer, and because of how many straights there are on this course, I'm pretty certain I will manage to probably hold on to the lead. Meanwhile, further behind, it will basically just depend on knowing how quick both of those guys are on their fresh set boots. But overall, I really did not expect myself to finish in the 3rd position at test course. especially after the speeds I witnessed, and also because of how durability on the tyres at test course was actually pretty good. But overall, definitely not the case here, because already I am pretty much leading by quite a vast rate of knots and still getting snaps of oversteer here and there as we head through the chicane now, and also colliding with the inside wall, and I am sliding around a lot at the moment. I wish I could stop doing that, even though I probably won't, as we are now on the front stretch once again, and starting the final lap here at Route 11. The Tommy Kyra is second over the FTO, as of which 13 seconds is now the margin to the Tommy Kyra, so he is closing in, but obviously I don't think he will be closing in enough to prevent me from winning this race, unless I fuck this up, and hopefully I will not. Because I will manage to hold on to the car before the oversteer catches me out, which is basically wheel spin on the rear tyres and then suddenly spinning the car from the rear end. Hopefully oversteer will not curse me before we get to the end of this race, as of which we are entering the final two hairpins here at Route 11, and already it appears as though I'm going to be on course for my 5th win in 6 races, and ultimately it would appear as though a win up to this point is going to be guaranteed, as I am now on the front stretch once again, heading past Pit Road, and it's 5 out of 6 victories to the Chevrolet Corvette. So the S2000 eventually manages to claw his way up to the 3rd position, as of which the FTO now finishes 6th in this race, so that's really going to dent his chances for 2nd in the championship over the Tommy Kyra. Meanwhile, the S2000 finishes 3rd ahead of the Impreza, the Altezza is 5th, and the FTO finished in last. So these are the updated point standings now, as of which it is 5 out of 6 wins to me and 1 to the FTO, even though obviously as a result of him finishing 6th here at Route 11, that's pretty much handed 2nd position over to the Tommy Kyra, a 6-point advantage. Meanwhile, I lead this thing by 20 points. So the Impreza still holding on to 4th position over the S2000, and furthermore, there is pretty much 44 points from 1st to 6th. So another 25k to me, and officially, let's now move onwards to the finale of the Dream Car Championship. In other words, the final round of the Amateur Dream Car Championship. Let's do this, as I'm going to take another sip of water once the race starts. Just having another sip of water, because obviously the commentary really knows how to drain my voice whilst I am doing this. Also, it is very dark in my room at the moment, probably simply because I'm doing this late on a Friday night, and made a little bit of contact there with the Subaru, but fortunately managing to catch the car before it spun me over to the right hand side, and officially I do now manage to head up into the third position as we head through the second tunnel, and everything at the moment is going more or less according to plan, and pretty much 2¼ seconds at the moment, so keeping everything more or less in check as we are now up into the third position once again. Oh crap! Okay. It's alright, it's fine, I caught it. I caught it before disaster emerged. And ultimately I have not managed to fuck this up. Oh fuck me, okay. And I am now closing in on the leaders, looking for an opening, as of which my first lap time apparently didn't count as being my last lap time. And because those two had the stronger counter steer than I did, there really wasn't anything I could have done in that situation, as of which the gap is now 1.3 seconds over the S2000 at the present time. The Toyota Altezza is currently in the second position, meanwhile I of course am holding on to third position and now taking second. Alright, so trying to see if there is an opening for first position here at Grand Valley, and hopefully this time I will manage to set a valid lap time. And wasn't quite able to beat the S2000 on corner exit, but again, because of tyre durability, obviously, I am pretty certain I will eventually manage to take the lead by a long shot by default of more durable tyres. Also because officially the Altezza is now in the pits, so I am pretty certain that has solidified where he is going to finish in this race, because he is probably going to be pitting in on both the fourth and sixth laps, respectively. And oh shit! Oh fuck me! I knew that was going to happen. There was literally no avoiding the spin once it was happening. Although fortunately, it's still pretty early in the race. I'm sure the S2000 will pit before the end of this race, as which that's probably what all of these AI are going to do on in the final race here at Grand Valley, because tyres will definitely prove, of course, to be more of a topic here at Grand Valley. I have quickly closed up to the S2K once again, in spite of me spinning right before the first tunnel, and ultimately, as a result, I do now manage to take over the first position. Probably as a result of worn tyres, methinks. 2.7 seconds the interval now to the S2K, as we now head through the final hairpin turn here at the reverse course, and I touched the inside gravel trap just a little bit there, but fortunately not managing to cause any major damage, and officially the S2K does now come into the pits, as of which I did suspect tyres would be the order of the day, so I think that has pretty much decided what the final pecking order is going to look like. And once again sliding into the outside concrete wall, although fortunately, however, I do have an interval to the rest of the leaders, because apparently there might be durability favours acceleration once again, or velocity I should probably say. So durability favours velocity once again, as I anticipated it would, and officially there is pretty much no going back up to this point. Considering the Altazza is going to pit again at the end of this lap, and as for the Honda, he is going to pit in again at the end of lap 6. That is exactly what I think their strategies are going to be. By the time we get to the end of this race, and I do apologise for breathing in and out of the microphone. There we go. That is pretty much this race done and dusted, and for me, meanwhile, it is going to be yet another comfortable race victory without any opposition there to be my challengers, as a result of the AI racing on shredded tyres, basically. And just checking to see if my card is still recording. Unfortunately it is, up to this point, and officially I have now started lap 5 of 7 here at Gran Valley Reverse. The margin is 19.2 seconds now to the FTO, and still extending as we speak. Even though I am willing to anticipate these AI probably will pit in before the end of this race, because I would imagine their tyres are probably losing themselves too in terms of grip. Even though, for me at least, I am pretty certain I will of course manage to win this race, because I chose the racing slick tyres. So, 2 laps to go. As I cross the line, I am pretty much well out in front of everyone else up to this point. I have nearly driven 200 kilometers with this thing, which I'm going to anticipate is around about 125 miles maybe. Oversteer almost getting the better of me once again, but managing to catch it just in time. And because of how durable these tyres are in comparison to what these AI are running, I'm pretty certain it is only a matter of time before we know for sure what the final finishing order is going to be here at Gran Reverse, because I'm nearly a pit stop ahead of everyone else, and it is fair to say that I could probably pit What exactly is the margin currently to the FTO? Oh, okay. So, about 29 seconds, so officially I could probably pit at the end of this lap and probably still end up winning the race, even though obviously it'll just be a waste of time really, because I don't need to pit. I'm well out in front of everyone else, and I'm pretty certain the S2K is going to pit before the end of this lap. I'm sure he will, and obviously I'm pretty certain this race is going to be mine, pretty much hands down, and no matter what happens from this point, there is pretty much no going back. And also furthermore, I need to save a replay after this, because that is one thing I have still not done. Anyways. So 33 seconds now to the FTO. The rest of the field is pretty much spread out up to this point. The S2K does come into the pits once again, as I anticipated he would. And obviously, that of course is going to be pretty much what the final finishing order will look like here at Gran Reverse. And it has a pits, although it doesn't really matter too much because of both the because of both the Honda and the Toyota racing on grippy but also pretty much lifeless tyres in this race, it is pretty much fair to say that obviously we are going to be waiting quite a while for everyone to finish. Meanwhile for me, it is going to be 6 out of 7 gold trophies to the Chevrolet Corvette. So there we go. I win! And ultimately, the FTO is running in second. So let's wait for everybody else to finish the race now and see how far behind the Altezza is behind the rest of us. There's the Altezza, and unfortunately, however, he was nearly a lap behind me, or just under a lap behind me. So I basically decimated that race, as of which the FTO takes second place here at Grand Valley Reverse over the Tommy Kyra, even though it will make no difference to his championship, because he will still be 4 points behind, and these are your final point standings. So 64 points to me, which is basically the same as my racing number. 38 to the Tommy Kyra, a 26-point margin in the end of that championship. Then it was the FTO in third, followed by the Impreza in fourth with 19 points. The S2000 finished in fifth, and then at the back it was the Toyota Altezza. Also, I need to remember to save this replay, because obviously before now I have not saved a replay, so let's save this one. Alright, replay is saved, and let's now move onwards to the prize car. And of course we will get 2 prize cars because we have completed the amateur league as well. 150 grand for winning the championship, and hopefully we will get ourselves a reasonable prize car. And what prize car do we win? Oh, okay, we win the Mitsubishi FTO from this championship. And we also get this thing in yellow. Nice. Very nice. And as a result of completing the Amateur League, we get the Dodge Viper GTSR Team Orica. And obviously this is where I'm gonna have to stop recording for a moment, because obviously the credits are gonna pop up. And I do mean the second credits from this. So yeah. The prize car we win from completing the Amateur League, the Dodge Viper GTSR Team Orica. Alright, so obviously I do apologise if I had to pause recording there, because, well, evidently the credits popped up essentially ending movie B, and well, the reason why I paused recording is because, well, obviously that contained copyrighted audio, and well, it basically contained a song by Lenny Kravitz, but obviously I had to pause recording briefly because, well, fuck the internet, and also because ultimately I will not be showing the credits until very last. But there we are. I won 6 out of 7 races. So just got that one race at test course I need to correct, and officially that is now the Amateur League finished. And next time we can just move onwards to the Amateur League events the Professional League events, which run under the International A license, as well as all the endurance events, because they all have the IA license. And so, these are our 2 prize cars. So, from winning the Dream Car Championship, we get the Mitsubishi FTO LM race car. And I have got to be honest, this thing in black and yellow, it actually looks pretty good to me, in my honest opinion. Looks pretty sexy in my honest opinion. I know other people may not agree with that, but obviously, to me at least, I think it looks sexy. So yeah, basically a protege to my Corvette number 64. And from completing the Amateur League, we get this sexy beast. The Dodge Viper GTSR Team Orica, even though obviously it says Chrysler, because, well, this thing is known as the Chrysler Viper GTSR Team Orica, and obviously no money if we sell this thing, obviously. Excuse me, I'm definitely not going to sell this thing because I could have some potential usage for it, and also because, well, I just love the way this thing looks. Not quite as good as the Ford GT in my honest opinion, but definitely a good looking car in many cases. Anyways, the Amateur League is now complete, and also that was the Amateur Dream Car Championship. Next time we shall be returning, of course, to the Professional League, and as for what event we will do first, you will have to wait and find out. But until then, stay tuned for more of GT3.